Hey there and welcome back to XCOM 2. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our Legend Ironman walkthrough of XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. Last time we left off after an episode that featured some of our reserve soldiers. We only had to deal with the Lost and in doing so also racked up kill number 500 of this playthrough, and despite a small scratch on our Spark unit Julian, it was another flawless mission. Now today, before we start scanning, let's take care of soldier bonds. We have a pair here that is ready to be plugged into the training center to form a level 2 bond, and since the whole affair will only take 6 days, I think now is a good time to do this. So Twitchy and Rumenian will strengthen their bond, which for example will now also result in them completing covert operations faster. They also get a somewhat situational aim bonus if the bondmate is attacked, and level 2 bondmates are also capable of cleansing each other from negative mental effects, although since our first continent bonus only makes them last for 1 turn anyway, this is perhaps not as important as it might seem. And so, as Twitchy and Shwamenian start training, we can start scanning, and we are greeted right away by another rumor. 7 days for a free resistance contact slot, I think we'll take that. In my opinion, this is one of the most worthwhile rumors in the entire game, and in most cases absolutely more useful than supplies, alloys or intel.
Avenger plotting new course.
Speaking of supplies though, we do want to grab 1 day's worth of them, as there are a few expensive things coming up shortly.
The outcome of this research can only further our advances, Commander.
And yes indeed, Psionics here is the first of these expensive things, as we have just unlocked psionic abilities for our squad, and obviously we need a place to train them, and that one costs a pretty penny. Now, unlike in the first game, psionic soldiers are their very own class in XCOM 2, so we will not be able to slap psionic abilities onto our soldiers who have a class already assigned. As such, it will still take a while until we will actually see our first Psi operative, since the Psi Lab needs to be constructed first before we can begin training one. After a quick reminder that we have unlocked the improved assault rifles breakthrough, we are then also informed of an inspiration, but first let us complete the muton autopsy, which, thanks to our corpse collecting efforts, can now be instantly completed.
Central Officer Bradford has personally substantiated claims that the massive frontline unit they called a muton was actually at one time even larger than the specimen I have before me today. As it is, the creature is abnormally warm to the touch for a corpse, and I must say, it is quite disconcerting. The aliens make a strong statement by fielding these massive creatures as their frontline combat units. I doubt they thought anyone would resist when faced with the alternative of staring down a muton.
And yes, this is the second expensive thing I mentioned earlier. We have just unlocked the plasma grenade as well as the advanced grenade launcher, and at least the latter will need to be purchased in engineering. It is, however, an absolute no-brainer. This is as good as the grenade launcher will get in this game. The increase to grenade range and radius is just too good to pass up. And the same I think is true for plasma grenades, which are a proving ground project. Now research-wise, let us complete the inspired datapad decryption. I had hoped for an inspiration on the plasma rifle, but who knows, maybe we'll get it after this.
I will make that our highest priority.
Now, since we just unlocked the plasma grenade, let's get working on it right away. As I said, it is a proving ground project, albeit an expensive one, but unlocking it will instantly replace every single regular grenade in our inventory, so I think we should complete it as quickly as we can.
Interesting choice. I'll send word as soon as we're finished, Commander.
And we'll actually also bump it up before skull mining here. Yes, you can freely shuffle these projects around. We won't lose any progress doing so, but it ensures that we get this done as quickly as we can. Now, before we continue scanning, let us also construct our Psi Lab next, and we're going to do so on the exposed power coil down here. Thanks to the instant excavation breakthrough we unlocked earlier, we can now instantly clear this out, and we receive a good number of supplies, alloys and Elerium crystals for it. Now, the main benefit of constructing something on this power coil is that whatever facility we construct will not consume any power. At the same time, constructing a power relay here will produce a lot more power. Ultimately, it comes down to the numbers, and it really doesn't make much sense to produce 10 power here only for them to be consumed elsewhere, as a fully upgraded Psi Lab will indeed consume 10 units of power. That arguably makes it one of the best facilities to be built here, so let's do so right away and assign an engineer to speed up construction too, and even with that it will still take us 21 days to complete. Now we have the Skirmisher HQ to slightly speed that up, but before we go there, let's complete our supply scan. As you can see, we don't have a whole lot left.
It may have been a dirty trick, but you have to admit, it was effective.
Right, and we suffer another Chosen sabotage, this one completely unnoticeable though. Luckily for us, we currently do not have any injured soldiers who might be affected by this.
The Chosen are doing whatever it takes to slow us down. We need to watch out for their sabotage attempts.
Avenger plotting new course.
And with that, we have slightly improved our funds and can now start working on grabbing that additional resistance contact, and let's see what happens in the meantime.
We completed our research in remarkable time, Commander.
Alright, the Advent datapad decryption has been completed and we have gained 69 units of intel. That is nice, but not really needed at the moment. Still, the inspiration did save us a few days of time. Following that, then, no inspirations or breakthroughs, so I guess we might as well get started on the alien encryption. Perhaps, if we are lucky, we get an inspiration after that, and we might just get plasma rifles completed a bit quicker after all.
I'll see that work begins immediately, Commander. I'll contact you when I have a full report available.
And with that, let us resume the scanning and see what else the game has in store. Alright, a whole lot of waiting and then our covert operation gets completed, and once again we get lucky and Avatar project progress is reduced not by 1 but by 2 points.
Against the Elders, we find nothing but success.
Alright, and apart from a bit of breathing room on the Avatar project, we have also gained a promotion for Starfall Antag, and with that our Ranger is now the first soldier in our squad to achieve the rank of Colonel. Sadly, there is no achievement for that, and we'll take care of the promotion shortly. First of all, though, let us assign our next covert operation, and having just removed 2 points of Avatar project progress, I think the second sabotage action here is no longer as tempting, so instead let us unlock yet another excellent breakthrough: interchangeable upgrades. This makes it so that we can reuse weapon attachments. So let's say we want to replace a regular scope with a superior scope, then previously the regular scope would have gotten destroyed in the process. This now makes it so that we can reuse it. This also means that we can switch weapon attachments around a lot more fluidly, and that also ultimately means that we won't need as many of them, which could potentially save us a bit of intel here and there on the black market. Now, our squad for this one will be Templar Logan and Specialist Zucchini. They are very close to being able to level up their bond, so this covert action should get them there.
I'll order my people to get underway immediately.
Now, at this point, it's time to take care of our Ranger. Unsurprisingly, both abilities unlocked at the Colonel level are excellent. Rapid Fire should already be familiar from the first game. It allows Starfall to shoot his shotgun twice, with a negligible 15% aim penalty on each shot. The somewhat confusingly named Reaper, meanwhile, is for the melee-focused Ranger. This allows him to chain multiple melee attacks in a single turn, with the caveat that in order to chain them, each one of them needs to be a kill. In my opinion, that is not quite so easily achieved, at least not with his current loadout, so we'll go with Rapid Fire for now, but don't worry. As you may have been able to see on the right side, Starfall also still has 24 ability points left to spend, and we are now going to use those in the training center to purchase Reaper as well. One thing I should also mention about Reaper is that the more attacks we chain, the less damage the individual attacks will do, so getting melee kills will become increasingly harder. Still, there are circumstances where this can be extremely powerful. And while we're here, let us grab another ability with a very similar premise in Bladestorm, a free reaction sword attack on any enemy that enters melee range. The great thing about this is that it is a passive ability and can therefore be triggered every single turn. It does suffer from the usual Overwatch penalty though, so the hits are not always guaranteed. Still, not counting the XCOM abilities, which Starfall sadly does not have, in my opinion this is about as good as the Ranger can get. Sure, with more ability points we could also unlock a few stealth abilities, but considering that we now have 2 Reapers in our team, I think that won't be necessary.
The 2 soldiers we sent to the training center have developed an even stronger bond. If we continue to send them out together in the field, their effectiveness will only grow.
Alright, Twitchy and Chominian have formed a level 2 bond without another mission popping up in the meantime, and that means it's time for the next pair to be placed into the training center. This time we actually have 2 to choose from, but Mox and Finlay might be needed soon, so instead we'll go with Specialist Van Dyke and Sharpshooter Tsunami. The benefits they receive are the exact same, they are independent of any classes, and with that we have the training center occupied for the next 6 days and can continue scanning.
Our research was a success, Commander.
And with that, the alien encryption project is completed too. We are making rapid progress here today. And keep in mind that this was a required research project for the main plot, so the now unlocked Shadow Chamber here should be of some interest. The Shadow Chamber is basically a specialized research lab, and to ultimately beat the game we will need to build it and complete the projects inside, but for now I think we still have some time until that becomes important. Once again then, we have no luck with inspirations or breakthroughs. Improved auto pistols here would only benefit the Templar, who doesn't really shoot a lot, so I really don't think it's worth spending 10 days on this, which means we are now in fact getting started with the plasma rifle, and in 30 days we can then move up to the final tier of weapons.
I will begin our research immediately.
New objective added.
And yes indeed, building the Shadow Chamber has now become a new objective, but like I said, we'll get to that later.
Having developed a greater understanding of the aliens' encryption methods, we can now construct a facility designed specifically to analyze any materials we recover related to their Avatar project. I would suggest we begin immediately.
Now the Shadow Chamber will most likely be built on the second exposed power coil we have, and as you can see, that one still takes a few more days to clear, so nothing more we can do at the moment, apart from scanning of course. Alright then, finally here we are with this month's Guerilla Ops. Let's see what we have available to us. From West Asia we could grab ourselves another engineer and counter the Resistance Informant Dark event, both of which not really a priority at the moment, not to mention that the Savage sitrep also means that we would be facing a lot of mutants, not necessarily something to look forward to. The new Arctic mission then promises us supplies and countering the Collector's Dark event, once again both not really at the top of our list, and a high number of automated defenses would also not make the mission any easier, although we should be able to deal with that with blue screen rounds. Still, I think this third one here is the one we'll go with, a very difficult mission in East Africa. We'll grab some intel and we'll counter the Viper Rounds Dark event, which, as many of you have also pointed out in the comments of the last episode, is probably the most threatening one.
Setting course for the East African sector.
So let's assemble our squad and get to it. This here is the team for today's mission. A fairly high level squad, but then again we are dealing with a very difficult mission, so we might need all the firepower we can get. The Hunter, by the way, guaranteed to not show up on this one, which is why Starfall is with us. After this mission, however, we'll have to send him out to recover from his Fear of the Chosen trait. Now, since we just unlocked the Advanced Grenade Launcher, let's also purchase that right away. As you can see, it's not a cheap upgrade, so grabbing those supplies earlier was definitely worth it. It is then immediately added to Twitchy's loadout, providing extra range and radius to her grenades. Unfortunately, we just missed out on plasma grenades being completed for this one too, but especially the increased impact radius might still come in handy. And with that, I think we are good to go. Let's embark on a very difficult mission and hack ourselves another Resistance computer.
Sky Ranger deployed.
Squad green to deploy.
We got a tip from a Resistance hacker operating out of this area. Apparently he gained access to the Advent network nearby right before alien reinforcements hit. It sounds like he may have had a lead on data critical to the latest alien operation, but we'll have to move quickly if we're going to recover it. Secure the area and hack in before Advent shuts down the connection. We need to seize control of that data if we're going to have any chance of stopping their progress. Menace 1-5, this is Avenger. The access point we're after is just ahead. Move to secure the area. Expect hostile resistance. Squad concealment active.
Right, here we go. We have 7 turns on the timer, concealment and an access point to hack. And most likely we also have plenty of enemies on the map, not to mention the Rapid Response Dark event, which ensures that we will see at least one wave of enemy reinforcements.
On my way.
So far though, the immediate vicinity seems clear, so let's bring our squad up to the doorway here, and in doing so we already cover a good amount of ground, as there is actually a fair amount of distance between us and our objective.
Roger that.
On the enemy turn then we see no action, but near the end of it we hear some glass break, and that might very well come from the aliens moving through the train in front of us. Let's send out Reaper Dragonova to scout ahead.
I know where you are. There's an alien patrol nearby.
Alright, and she immediately locates 2 groups of enemies, a mech and a trooper on top of the train, and a stun lance and spectre below. Now, we do have 2 soldiers equipped with blue screen rounds, so both the mech and the spectre should not be too troublesome. Still, let's set things up for the ambush here and not attack right away. I'm fairly certain that our enemies should not be able to flank us from here, so we should safely remain undetected for one more turn.
I am on
Moving to Overwatch.
Right, or we don't, as the mech and trooper just keep going here, and unfortunately end their turn right next to Dragonova and reveal the entire squad. Right, so good thing we had at least 2 people on Overwatch. Unfortunately, the trooper doesn't go down here, but they're left with only 1 hit point. Even worse then, the Spectre unfortunately also breaks the concealment of Helleboris, who up until this point had still been hidden thanks to his Phantom ability. So here we are then, Mech and Trooper should not be too much of a concern. The position of Stunlancer and Spectre, however, is a bit more worrying. I think we'll have to burn through a few abilities to take care of them. But let's begin things with the Mech and by shredding its armor, that is if Twitchy can hit the 81%er here. Lovely, helped by blue screen rounds, she also deals 10 points of damage, and that means that, also thanks to blue screen rounds, Sapphire West can now use a pistol shot to already deliver the kill shot.
Hostile target down.
Alright, so far so good, that's 1 enemy down. Let's quickly use Dragonova here to take care of the second one.
Good riddance.
Alright, beautiful, that's 1 pod taken out, time to take care of number 2. And we are moving in with Helleboris for this one. With a 65% chance to crit, he has a very good chance of one-shotting the Lancer. And indeed he does, which leaves only the Spectre, and that's where our second Ranger Starfall comes into play. Let's activate Run and Gun and get right up into the Spectre's face.
Already there.
Despite the crit chance, 1 shot is likely not going to cut it. Good thing that we have rapid fire to shoot twice, and as you can see, from this close the aim penalty really does not matter.
I think you should see this. I got it, right?
Alright, awesome, that is pod number 2 cleared as well, and we have some loot to recover. Starfall picks up 2 Illyrium cores, that will certainly help in the proving ground.
What's over there?
With his implacable movement then we can move a bit further back towards the objective. Shromenian can also grab the high ground and we can end the turn with him on Overwatch. The alien turn then reveals nothing, but the clock is constantly ticking down, so let's put our Reaper back into shadow mode and keep advancing.
I go where I'm needed. You cannot run.
Alright, looks like we have spotted an Archon and 2 Vipers. 2 of them are inside of this wall-off area with the access point, but unfortunately there is 1 Viper on the roof of it, and that one is obviously much more capable of spotting anyone who gets too close. Still, let's advance just a tiny bit further with our Reaper. After all, at least with her the detection chance is minimal.
Position. Objective in range.
Commander, we have confirmation of the exposed access point.
So that is the access point officially located, and thanks to having a specialist with us, we should also have no trouble hacking it in time. First of all though, I think we should deal with these 3 enemies, so let's bring our squad closer and try not to reveal ourselves early this time. On the next turn then we'll strike, perhaps Twitchy can even start things off with an Overwatch on this one, but the chances of that triggering are slim.
I'm on it. No place for you to go now.
And indeed our enemies move not in the direction she's aiming. Nonetheless, they come to rest in a fairly convenient formation.
The Advent network is almost entirely locked down. We're running out of time. Get to that terminal.
And yes, Bradford is hurrying us along, but we do have 3 turns left and line of sight with the terminal. So let's deal with the more pressing issue, and that would be 3 enemies huddled extremely tightly together. And since moving Twitchy into grenade range would already reveal our squad and cause these enemies to move, let's instead open things up with a much more stealthy Claymore from Reaper Dragonova. Now sadly, this once again breaks her concealment and we can only re-enter stealth once, but it did do a lot more damage than a grenade would have. And so, pod number 3 here should not be too challenging either. Most importantly, we want to kill the Archon before it gets airborne, and thankfully this time we have the high ground, so let's lay down double pistol shots with Alyssa West. Alright, lovely, the battle frenzy here we can safely ignore. This only gets the Archon an extra action point on the next turn, but it likely won't get to that. And indeed, Starfall delivers the kill shot from above, and just like that, we only have 2 2-hit point Vipers to deal with. So let's move Twitchy into a flanking position to kill the first. while her bondmate Schwaminian can flank the other one and clear out this spot for good.
Big deal.
Alright, and there we are, 3 enemy groups down and the target is in sight. And Ranger Helleboris hasn't even moved yet, so let's put him on Overwatch and then we can bring our turn to an end.
Bestätigt. Überwachung läuft.
Alright, so enemy group number 4 has arrived, an officer and a mech, this time though the baseline version of the mech with only 9 hit points.
Okay, nicht
Got
erwischt.
some advent here.
Helleboris' reaction shot also misses, but still deals 1 point of damage due to the stock, and with that we now have 2 more enemies to deal with, and both of them in rather uncomfortable positions, as they are still really far away from most of our squad. Still not too far away from Sharpshooter West, who is guaranteed to hit the mech even from afar, and thanks to blue screen rounds the kill is once again guaranteed.
X-ray neutralized.
Now that leaves the officer standing, but I think we'll actually let them come to us. We can very easily break line of sight and put most of the squad on Overwatch, so they should be in for a rough time. That also means that we can use this turn to hack the access point with Schwaminian. His hacking skill has been slightly boosted thanks to carrying the Skulljack, and still none of the hack rewards here are guaranteed, so we are going with the one that has the highest chance, and it is actually a very good one, reducing the contact cost for the next region by 50%, a bonus that will be especially noticeable if we use it on a far away region, where the intel cost for making contact will be substantially higher.
We're through! Cavalry's here. Menace 1-5. Confirm successful acquisition of the Advent data. Be aware, hostile forces are inbound on your position. Eliminate local opposition and any reinforcing troops.
Now, unfortunately, this also triggers reinforcements, something I had not counted on. So I guess it's a good thing that we haven't used up much of our turn yet, and that we were planning on setting up an Overwatch ambush anyway.
I'm going.
So let's activate that to end our turn, let's see what we have coming in and hope that it's not too much.
Affirmative. Cover now.
Covering now.
Feuerschutz.
Alright, just a shield bearer and a purifier. Oh, and also another officer. A good amount of hit points on all 3 of them. Let's see what we can do here.
Hostile terminated.
Daneben.
You can never escape my sight. Shot failed to connect.
Alright, not the best, but also not the worst Overwatch ambush. We killed the officer, but left both other enemies standing, which unfortunately now also means that the other officer gets to act freely. Thankfully though, they only mark Starfall and they won't live long enough to make it count, as Twitchy is now getting ready to use the first of 3 grenades to expose and shred the armor of Purifier and Officer.
Throwing grenade!
Now, technically the Purifier is not yet exposed, but very flankable. For the time being though, let's focus on the shield bearer, who still has both armor and cover, and yet Sharpshooter West is almost guaranteed to hit. Four points of damage mean that 8 more will be enough for the kill, and so would 9 on the officer here, something that Starfall is very much capable of delivering. And so he removes the marking all by himself, and up next we have Schwaminian.
What's over there?
As you can see, not a great hit chance, and 8 points of damage are far from guaranteed, but sometimes you just have to roll the dice, and we do have some backups available.
Okay, so I got one.
And that means we now only have the Purifier left, and for this one we will run and gun with Helleboris to get him up onto the high ground and into a flanking position.
Schon dabei.
Okay, so I had calculated with the possibility that there would be one more group of enemies hidden somewhere in the shadows. I had not counted upon Helleboris revealing them with this move, however, and I had definitely not counted upon them being 4 Codexes. Right, so looks like this mission just got a whole lot more interesting, as we are more or less out of moves and have just the one action left with Helleboris, so I guess we will abandon our plans of killing the Purifier and instead deploy a Mimic Beacon, ideally somewhere far away so that the Codexes don't get too close. And well, let's hope this is enough to fool 5 enemies, most likely though it won't be.
I will always find you.
Right, so that's one Codex occupied and our beacon can take 2 more of those, and it actually looks like it will have to.
I have sight beyond vision.
Okay, so unfortunately we do have one Codex launching its psionic bomb. So far that doesn't do any damage, but on the next turn it might, so we should move out of here quickly.
The time for hiding is over.
Meanwhile, Codex number 4 is lured in by the beacon as well, and no, don't worry, this will not void the achievement for not losing a soldier. And that brings us to the Purifier, who has an excellent firing angle on both Schwaminian and Dragonova.
This fire is getting worse.
Looks like they missed both of them, however, so a very lucky turn for us. The Mimic Beacon absolutely saved our asses here, so now let's take the fight to the Codexes. Now, first things first, we want to get out of the psionic bomb's radius. If we don't, it will explode on the next turn, dealing up to 7 points of damage, not to mention that it has already disabled the weapons of Dragonova and Sapphire West, but thankfully both of them have free reloads available. And at least in the case of Alyssa, she also has an excellent shot against one of the Codexes here. Let's see if blue screen rounds are once again enough to get the kill.
Target down.
Alright, off to a lovely start here, critical hit despite only a 10% chance, and we are now counting on Twitchy to be able to repeat that, as she can dash in to flank the next Codex.
We will overcome!
Schwaminian can then give her an extra action using teamwork, and once again the instant kill might just be available here.
I definitely got that one.
Alright, that makes it 2 for 2, very good so far. Still, we are left with 2 more, not counting the Purifier, although we should be able to very easily make that just 1, as we can once again employ the run-and-gun rapid-fire combo with Starfall.
Move, move, move!
And he will be allowed to fire twice before the Codex clones itself after taking damage, and that means this here is another guaranteed kill.
I got it, right?
And in fact, it is another critical, so we don't even need the second shot, and as a result, both Implacable and Untouchable now trigger, so let's move him right next to the other Codex. If that one just moves regularly and doesn't teleport, then Bladestorm will trigger too, and we might just get ourselves a bit of extra damage to start the next turn. In the meantime, after moving Schwaminian out of the way, Helleboris has a 99% chance to kill the Purifier. Let's hope the 1% does not strike this time. Alright, there we go. Good thing we moved our specialist out of the way, and we are now down to only 1 Codex.
My life is in your hands.
A very successful turn, I would say. Let's end it on Overwatch and hope the Codex does what I think it will.
Reapers are always vigilant.
Alright, the Codex teleports and now has a flanking position on Starfall, but Starfall is untouchable. That is exactly what I had counted on, and it should now make the rest of this easy. To ensure that the Codex doesn't clone itself on the last turn here, let's throw the Frost Bomb. Then we can expose it a bit more by launching a grenade with Twitchy. And finally we can move in with Sharpshooter West to unleash 1, maybe 2 pistol shots for the kill.
Target neutralized.
Status confirmed. All hostiles are down and the area is secure. Status confirmed. Mission accomplished.
Alright, lovely. 1 shot was enough and we have completed another flawless mission. And yes, it felt manageable for the most part. The Codexes did make things a little bit more tricky, but I think at this point already the blue screen rounds have more than paid for themselves.
After the war's over, maybe you can start your modeling career.
Even now, our enemy lurks in the shadows.
plotting to destroy all we have built, to return us to the chaos of the old world. Only together can we oppose them. United in the Elders' love for us, we shall prevail, no matter the cost.
Good work out there, Commander. We're one step closer to taking back our planet.
Alright, no injuries and nobody tired, that is what you like to see after a mission. With our soldiers advancing in rank, promotions will unfortunately also become fewer and fewer, but as you can see in Starfall's case, we usually have 1 or 2 covert actions available to fast-track them, should we really need to.
You have done an outstanding job leading the Resistance, Commander.
And there we are, we have countered the Viper Rounds a Dark event and have obtained 94 units of intel as a reward, and we will most likely spend them soon to make contact with 1 or 2 more regions. At the moment, it definitely feels like we are very much in control of things, and I know I don't want to jinx anything. Yes, the Chosen will need to be dealt with sooner or later, I think, but overall, the fact that we were able to pull off a flawless mission despite what we faced here today, that gives me confidence that we will be able to handle the next few challenges too. And with that, I think we have reached a good point to make the cut in today's episode, so let's wrap things up here for now. As always, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.